So hi everyone. So today we'll start with this particular topic, which is biological classification. So we are going to study a new topic today, a new chapter today. Lastly, we completed this living world. We have completed this living world chapter. Okay. I hope that you guys would have started reading the notes that I have given and also the CBSE textbook. So we will try to start studying this chapter. This is like kind of continuation of the previous chapter only, but we are going to study something about detail about certain things in this chapter. Okay, so what is biological classification is what we are going to study. We have already studied about how classification is done. So now we are going to see something detail. Okay, so a little bit more detail like we are going to study. We have studied about 3 domains in the past chapter. So how that 3 domains are divided into 5 kingdoms is what we are going to study in this particular chapter. Okay, so we would start with introduction. So once introduction is done, we would start with the classification history. Then we would start with 5 kingdom classification. Then we would start to study about each of those kingdoms. Monera. Then you have Protista. And then you have fungi. And then you have Plantae. And you have Animalia. In connection to it, we will also study about viruses, viroids, and mycoplasma. Also lichens. We would try to study about all these things, but this is going to be a very huge chapter. Okay, maybe I'll take some 10-15 days to complete this chapter fully. So it is like kind of like very huge, because like the magnitude of this chapter is like kind of very big. Okay, we would not cover plants and animals now. So Plantae and Animalia would be dealt in very what to say, like in a very shallow way we would try to see now. So very superficially we would try to study Plantae and Animalia. But what we have to understand is like Plantae and Animalia will be studied separately as new chapters. We would study about plant kingdom separately, and we would study about animal kingdom separately. Okay, so this Plantae and Animalia is going to be somewhat different, as in like we'll study it as a separate chapter. We'll just shallowly study now. Okay, uh, so in this particular chapter we would not cover much about Plantae and Animalia. We would study Plantae as plant kingdom separately as a chapter. That would be the next chapter, followed by we will study a one more chapter which is called as animal kingdom in detail. So in this chapter, we will mainly concentrate on Monera, Protista, and fungi. Maybe virus, viroids, and mycoplasma also. Okay, so we'll try to cover about these 4 things in this chapter, and this will be separately dealt as one chapter, and this would be separately dealt as one chapter. So this is how the idea is. Okay, so you please let us start with the introduction now. So this almost is like an introduction. So what is biological classification? We have studied that biological classification, the word classification we have already studied. Okay, what does that word mean? Quickly tell me some responses. Arrangement. Yeah, someone has said arrangement. Yes, it is arrangement. Then, so it is classifying organisms, grouping of organisms based on some kind of similarity and dissimilarities in a hierarchy kind of thing. Yes, that is correct. Okay. Sorting out of species. Okay, grouping of organisms. Tambi, I am taking this chapter biological classification. So let us concentrate only on that chapter. Okay. So please don't ask me some unnecessary stupid questions here and then get my mood off in the morning. So children who are asking questions, please see to that like you're crossing, you're like there within your limits as such. Okay. So we will concentrate only on studying this chapter. Please let us concentrate only on studying this chapter. I will show all the slides towards the end. So now we'll try to study. I have got sufficient answer. We are comparing organisms. We are sorting out organisms. And then we are trying to study about organisms. So we have studied about Aristotle. So Aristotle was the first person who kind of came up with a classification of plants. So what he said was he was classifying plants into groups as herbs, which are shorter, then shrubs, which are bigger, and then he came up with trees. Okay, so he kind of created some kind of sort of classification of plants. And then similarly, he also classified animals. So he classified animals which are having red blood and animals which do not have red blood. He also classified them into terrestrial, aquatic, and amphibians. He started doing this particular thing. Okay, so he was the first person who was living in the before Christ era who was trying to do some sort of arrangement and classification. So he came up with this particular thing of classification. Then the second person to kind of like come up with strong ideas is Carl Linnaeus. Carl Linnaeus classified organisms into Plantae and Animalia. Okay, so he classified plants into Plantae, and then he classified organisms into Animalia, whichever like resembling animals. He was like kind of trying to organize them. So Plantae and Animalia are two classes, two kingdoms. So he came up with a two kingdom classification. Okay, so he wrote a book called a Systema Naturae. We have studied about this particular book already. He wrote a book which is called a Systema Naturae. Am I audible? There are some people trying to tell me that I am not audible. Okay. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have studied about this guy, Carolus Linnaeus. He kind of like came up with two things. One is like Plantae and other one is Animalia. Based on what property did he classify? He was classifying plants as autotrophs and then Animalia as heterotrophs. So any organism which was coming under autotrophic, okay, autotrophic mode of nutrition, he put it into plant A, and anything which was not photosynthetic and which was not able to produce food on its own, he classified them into animalia. So this was the first thing that they tried to do. But eventually what happened, after some time, people found microorganisms. Okay, so this microbes was having a totally different idea. Okay, so they were living in a very different world. So their cellular structures was totally different. But they found that microbes are also living organisms. And they were like kind of like having different ideas about microbes. So then came up the three kingdom classification. So in the three kingdom classification, they came up with one, which is a Plantae, the two, which is Animalia, and then three, they came up with a new kingdom called as Monera. This Monera is unicellular organisms. Okay, so they came up with, there are some unicellular organisms which are put together under Monera. Okay, and then Plantae will be all phototrophs, and then Animalia would be all heterotrophs. Like that, they were trying to classify organism. But still, they felt that fungi did not fit into all these categories. Okay, fungi is like not photosynthetic, so you cannot put it into Animalia. I mean, like you cannot put it into not photosynthetic, so you cannot put it into Plantae. It is not unicellular, so they were not able to put it inside Monera. Okay, but and they were not looking like animals also, they were like kind of very distinct. So what happened was people were kind of like thinking about certain other ideologies, and then they came up with the four kingdom classification. Later, so in four kingdom classification, what happened, they were trying to put plants into one group. The second one is Animalia. The third one, Monera. And the fourth one, they classified as fungi. Okay. Who gave this three kingdom classification, four kingdom classification, and all? I'll try to tell you. Just give me some time. Let me just complete the concept. Okay. The person's name is not very important, but the concept and idea is very important. So questions will be based on application orientation only. So Plantae, Animalia, Monera, fungi are all the four kingdom classification. Then came up the important scientist who's called as Whitaker. So this Whitaker, in the year 1969, he came up with a classification system which is called as the five kingdom classification. Okay, so what is this five kingdom classification? He found that Monera is unicellular, but not all unicellular organisms are similar. Okay, so this Monera is not exactly, it is unicellular organism, but there are two categories of unicellular organisms were there. Some were having a prokaryotic setup. So there were unicellular and prokaryotic. So he created a subgroup which is called as Protista, the second kingdom. The Protista will include eukaryotic unicellular organisms. And then came up the fungi, which was eukaryotic, saprotrophic, and multicellular. Then came up your plantae, which was eukaryotic, autotrophic, more specifically photoautotrophic, and multicellular. And then finally came your animalia, which is eukaryotic, heterotrophic, and multicellular. So like this, they classified five kingdoms. So this five kingdom classification came into the picture: Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. So this is what we call it as five kingdom classification. Okay. So these are the five kingdoms that we are going to study about. And this is how this chapter has evolved. So what has happened here is, so there is a very strange, I mean, like very strange thought process has gotten, and people have studied in a very step-by-step method. Okay, gradually newer organisms were introduced. Okay, Venus flytrap will be placed in plant kingdom only because it is still having photosynthetic pigments. Okay, it is showing some sort of heterotrophism, but still it is still autotrophic. Anything which is having chlorophyll and which is capable of reproducing, I mean, like which is capable of synthesizing its food, though it is exhibiting some sort of parasitism, will be put under plantae. Okay, so please understand that even in Venus flytrap, even in Cuscuta, there are some sort of properties that you have to look into, which will resemble the plants. So this five kingdom classification came into the picture. So quickly, let me just show you the slides 1 to 4. If you want to note it down, please note it down. Some people are asking for third system as first slide, second slide, third slide, and all. So whoever wants it, just quickly note it down. So why are viruses not added in this classification? Because viruses exhibit totally different properties. We will study about what is virus and then how their life cycle is and all those things in this chapter. Okay, so you will understand that virus will come under neither living organisms or non-living organisms. Protozoans will come under Protista. Okay, so protozoans, we'll try to study about it. Bacteria will come under Monera. We will study that. Okay, so second slide. So it was Carl Linnaeus who gave the two kingdom classification, autotrophs and heterotrophs. The third one, okay, so sorry, the person who came up with this particular thing, he did not classify Monera first, he classified Protista first. Okay, so Protista came into the picture first, and Monera came to later thing. It is Ernst Haeckel. Ernst Haeckel is the scientist who came up with this thing, and he just came up with Protista, which includes all unicellular organisms. Okay, so similarly, this guy, this four kingdom classification was given by one Mr. Herbert Copeland. Four kingdom classification was given by Herbert Copeland. Three domains of life is found after five kingdom classification. Yes. So three domains were classified later stage. Okay, so Herbert Copeland and Ernst Haeckel are the people who found the three kingdom and four kingdom classification. Then Whittaker came into the picture. Yes, what you're saying about Datura is true. So that is a evolutionary mechanism which made the plant survive. So are you guys done? A cladistic taxonomy and all I'll tell later, man, not now. Okay, fine. Someone wanted slides 2. Someone wanted slide 3. Okay, then someone wanted slide 4. So now we are going to study about basis of classification. So what was the basis of classification? Okay, so what are the criteria which were followed by Whittaker to go for this classification? Okay, so he was kind of classifying them based on first thing is cell structure. The second one is body organization. The third one was mode of nutrition. The fourth one was reproduction. And the fifth one was phylogenetic relationship. So they were like, he was trying to consider these 5 categories while classifying. So you guys all know what cell structure means. what kind of cell is making the particular body. Okay, so based on cell, you will be able to understand. You can see that a prokaryotic cell structure is very different from eukaryotic. So, okay, prokaryotic cells will have peptidoglycan. If you are going to see eukaryotic cell, it depends on what kind of cell it is. Similarly, if you see fungus, fungus will have chitin in their cell wall. Okay, chitin is kind of a structure, a chemical structure which will make the cell wall of fungus. If you are going to see plant A cell wall will be made up of cellulose. And then similarly, if you see Animalia will have no cell wall. Like this, if you see this particular structure, cell structure, based on cell structure, we can classify organisms. Then he was also classifying based on body organization, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. He was trying to use that property to classify organism. Then similarly, mode of nutrition, there are three modes: phototrophism, then you have heterotrophism, and you also have saprotrophism. So by phototrophism, I mean autotrophism only. Okay. We'll study about what is peptidoglycan and all when we are studying the cell structure. Okay. So as of now, you please understand that the cell wall of bacteria is something made up of something called as peptidoglycan. Prokaryotic cells will have peptidoglycan. Holozoic is again heterotrophism only. So then you have modes of reproduction where you have asexual reproduction mode and sexual reproduction. Then phylogenetic relationship is evolutionary relationship. Okay, how the organisms have undergone change over time. Over a period of time, how organisms have changed. So based on all these properties, they were trying under. Saprotrophism is also heterotrophism only. Yeah, right. But it is very distinct. So you, based on phylogenetic relationships, also he tried to classify. So what are the criteria that Whittaker took to classify organisms? He took cellular structure, body organization, mode of nutrition, reproduction, and phylogenetic relationships. Whatever I have written here is just for understanding. So you have different kinds of modes of nutrition. Based on that also he kind of classified. We will try to study about chemotropism and phototropism now in prokaryotes. Okay, so you will understand. Hey, how many times should I say that I will tell what is peptidoglycan when I am teaching the structure of bacteria? This is not a class on nutrition for your information. This is a class on biological classification. In this biological classification, we will try to study mostly about how they have classified. There are different types of nutrition. There are different types of reproduction. There are different types of body organization. There are different types of cellular structures. Based on all these things, we are going to classify organisms. Okay, I am not here to debate whether phototropism will come under autotrophism and chemotropism will come under autotrophism, whether saprotropism is heterotropism. I am not debating about any of those things. I am just trying to tell you that there are different modes of nutrition and these organisms were classified based on different modes of nutrition. Okay. Yeah, right. Body organization is unicellular or multicellular. When it is multicellular, you will have organization levels such as tissue level organization and organ level organization. So that is all, like all tissue level and organ level I have classified together, put them together as multicellular. What is the cell structure of eukaryotic cell? We will try to study about them in cell chapter, not now. Okay, so I'm going to proceed further. So first thing we are going to study about now is kingdom Monera. What is phylogenetic relationship? Evolutionary relationship. How two organisms are related based on their evolutionary property. Okay, so say for example, classifying humans and hominids together is what we call it as uh, phylogenetic relation. You are putting them into the same category. So first kingdom is Monera. We are going to study about Monera. It is a group of organisms that are unicellular. Second one, they have a prokaryotic structure. Cell wall is made up of non-cellulose, polysaccharide, plus amino acids. Okay. Body organization is cellular. The mode of nutrition can be autotrophic, photoautotrophic, it can be autotrophic, which is chemoautotrophic, okay, and then you can have heterotrophic, in heterotrophic it can be either sapro or paracyclic. Okay, and then finally you have your reproduction, asexual. Okay, so I will just explain what it is. So the kingdom Monera will comprise of organisms that are unicellular. So they will have only one cell. The entire organism is going to have only one cell only. Okay, they have a prokaryotic cell structure. What is a prokaryotic cell structure? Which is primitive in nature. Primitive cellular structure without proper nucleus. Okay, it will be like not having nucleus and all. We'll try to differentiate between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell in the chapter cell. As of now, you understand that prokaryotic is a very undeveloped cell. Okay, a cell which is not having a cell will be there. The DNA will be like kind of lying down in the center. Okay, which will be having, there is no cell thing. I mean, like this area is what we call it as nucleoid zone. Nucleoid zone is like something which will be like kind of like a dense area in which this chromosome is there. There is no nucleus, no proper nucleus. That is what we call it as prokaryotic cell. The cell wall is made up of non-cellulose polysaccharide. Okay, normally the cell wall of organisms will be made up of sugars. Okay, whenever I'm using the word polysaccharide, polysaccharide indicates carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are of three types: monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, I mean disaccharides, okay, there are four types: oligosaccharides and then polysaccharides. Okay, whenever if glucose is going to be simple or fructose is going to be single units, so there are sugars which are single units. Those single units are what we call it as monosaccharides. When two of these two things are joined together, we call them as disaccharides. Say for example, sucrose that you eat, your normal sugar, that is called as sucrose. It is made up of glucose and fructose. So this disaccharide means two sugars are joined together to form one structure. Di means two, saccharide means sugar. The word saccharide means sugar. There are different kinds of sugars present in food substances. Okay. So there is a sugar which is called as glucose. There is a sugar which is called as fructose. There is a sugar which is called as galactose. Like that, you will have different kinds of sugars. These simple sugars are called as monosaccharides. When two of these monosaccharides are joining together, we call it as disaccharide. Say for example, maltose. Maltose is a sugar which is made up of glucose and glucose. It is a disaccharide. Maltose is a disaccharide. Where is this maltose is present? This maltose is present in your malt based drinks. If you are drinking Boost or Complan or any of those things, the sugar which is present there is maltose. Maltose will have two glucose joined together. It is a disaccharide. The normal sugar that you eat is made up of two simple sugars. So there is a sugar which is called as glucose, and there is a sugar which is called as fructose. Okay, so that is what we call it as sucrose. The sucrose is the sugar that you are eating. Okay, we are putting in coffee, tea, and you're drinking. That is called as sucrose. That is made up of glucose and fructose. What is oligosaccharides? Oligosaccharides means a short stretch of sugars. So some 8 to 10 molecules are there. That is what we call it as oligosaccharide. Whenever I'm telling the word polysaccharide, it means there are many sugars joined together in a line. So your starch is a polysaccharide. Your cellulose is a polysaccharide. Like that, you have like certain things that you are going to use. Glycogen in your human beings. Glycogen is a long chain of glucose. That is a polysaccharide. Starch is present in plants as a storage unit. So it is a polysaccharide. Cellulose is found in plant cells. So it is a polysaccharide. Okay. Whenever I'm trying to mean here, okay, it is made up of a non-cellulose polysaccharide. What is the meaning of it? It is a polysaccharide which is not cellulose. Okay, and then amino acids. So the cell wall is made up of amino acids. Okay, as well as some polysaccharide. So that is what it is. What is the classification criteria for Monera? Monera should not have a cell wall which is made up of cellulose. That's all. The cell wall can be made up of any polysaccharide. Peptidoglycan is one type of polysaccharide. Whenever I'm trying to tell about peptidoglycan, many people were asking what is peptidoglycan. This glycan is indicating the sugar part. This peptido is indicating the amino acid part. It is a chemical structure which will have two things. What are the two things it will have? It will have a sugar component and it will have a amino acid component joined together. It is called as a glycoprotein. What is glycoprotein? Glycoprotein is a structure which is a combination of sugars and proteins. Okay, what is peptidoglycan? You were asking. Look at the words. Looking at the word, you should be able to understand. Whenever you see these words like glucose, glyco, it is all connected with sugars. Whenever you are seeing this word peptide, pepsin, okay, they are all connected with proteins. So it is a combination of protein as well as sugar. It is having some amino acids and sugar put together. So we call it as a glycoprotein, which is making the cell wall in Monera. Okay, some bacteria will have cell wall which is made up of peptidoglycan. Okay, we'll try to study about them. So please understand that Monera will have a cell wall that is made up of non-cellulose polysaccharide and amino acids. Then you have something about body organization in cellular. Okay, body organization is cellular, which means they do not make up tissues. Even though they are present together, they will be functioning as independent cells. Say for example, bacteria will form colonies, but still it will not function together. Bacteria can form a huge colony. Many bacteria can be present together. Okay, but still they will function at a cellular level. So that is what we mean by body organization is cellular. Mode of nutrition can be autotrophic. Autotrophic has two types, photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. Let me explain. What is photoautotrophism? Sunlight is used for energy. What is chemoautotrophism? Chemicals are used for energy. Sunlight is used by certain organisms which have chlorophyll. Autotrophs. Autotrophs can be classified into two types: photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs are organisms that will use sunlight, okay, as a source of energy, whereas chemoautotrophs will use chemicals. Okay, so they will use chemicals for deriving energy. Say, for example, there is a bacteria which is called a sulfur bacteria. The sulfur bacteria will use sulfur to get energy. They will not eat organic food. What they will try to do is they'll try to consume sulfur, and using sulfur, they will try to produce energy, ATP. Or there is something called as a iron bacteria. This iron bacteria will use rust as a source of energy. What is rust? Ferric oxide. So Fe2O3 is used as a chemical source for obtaining energy. So these bacteria will all come under chemosynthetic bacteria. Okay. Chemicals will not include chemical biochemicals, it becomes heterotrophic. I am talking about inorganic chemicals. Okay, I'm talking about inorganic chemicals. Are you guys able to listen to me? Hear me? Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so just quickly, I haven't started. I have just started Monera. I have just given the basic introduction. So there can be any of these mode of nutrition seen in Monera. And also the reproduction is mostly asexual. Conjugation is seen in some species. Conjugation is seen in some species. Just give me a moment. I'll try to reply. Okay, what is conjugation and all, I'll try to explain. Okay, so just wait for some time. Just give me a moment, I'll drink some water. Okay, so this is what is the basis of Monera. Okay, when you're talking about Monera, these are the characteristics features of Monera. So now what we will go to study is, we will try to study about how Monera is classified. Monera is divided into two groups. One is what we call it as Archaebacteria. And the other one is what we call it as Eubacteria. Okay, the word archae indicates it is old. The word U indicates that it is true. Okay. Or it also means good. It also means something which is tangible, a new. Okay. All these things can be equivalent words of U. So there are two kinds of organisms, unicellular organisms, prokaryotic organisms that are found. One is what we call it as the archaebacteria. The archaebacteria will include all the organisms which are old world. So say for example, the earth formed first of all. So you would have heard about Big Bang theory and all. So earth would have formed first of all, and then it would have started as a mass of gases. And then how do you think life would have come into the picture? Smaller organisms would have come into the picture first. So the conditions which were there when the earth was formed was very, 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 very harsh. So there were some organisms which lived in such conditions. So those organisms are what we call it as archaebacteria. So the cellular structure of archaebacteria is totally different from that of eubacteria, because eubacteria are the bacteria that we are seeing today. Okay, so we are like seeing like some sort of organisms today, and then like we are seeing some bacteria which are causing diseases. Those are the new generation bacteria. But the old generation bacteria was totally different in their cellular structures because they were having some extreme properties. The cellular structure of archaebacteria is totally different. Okay, they can be like kind of like living in very harsh environment, and then like harsh conditions they were able to survive. So they were able to survive in very hot water. Okay, normally now if you're going to kill any bacteria, if you're going to heat it beyond 100 degrees Celsius, they will die. Okay, the maximum thing that it can survive is 120 degree now. Very extreme conditions. The spore forming bacteria will be killed after 120 degrees Celsius. So there are some bacteria which will die after 70, 60, 70 itself, it will start to die. But there are some organisms which will form spores. So those spore forming bacteria can survive up to 120 degrees Celsius. Okay. So what would have happened is, so this eubacteria has been there. So this bacteria is like kind of like, these are new generation bacteria which are latest versions. But these old generation bacteria are sort of very different. Okay, there are different classified. Archaebacteria has evolved, and that has given rise to eubacteria. Okay, but what is the thing that you have to understand is today, even in some areas, we are able to find archaebacteria. Okay, cyanobacteria will come under eubacteria. And the normal bacteria is also there. The cyanobacteria is blue-green algae. You have the normal bacteria is there. Now we are not talking about viruses, we are talking only about bacteria. So please let us restrict only to bacteria. I am not talking about viruses now. Okay. So please understand that Monera includes two different sulfur bacteria and all will come under eubacteria only. So you're talking about archaebacteria and eubacteria. Archaebacteria and eubacteria are two types of bacteria. So let us just understand there are like several examples of archaebacteria which are there. There are something which is called as methanogens. Methanogens are methane generating organisms. They will live in extreme condition like marshy land, and they will be able to generate methane. So then there is thermophiles. Thermophiles are a group of organisms which can live in high temperature. Okay, then you have bacteria is a living thing. Yes, bacteria is a living unicellular thing. Thermophiles can live in volcanoes also. Yes, right. And then you have acidophiles. Acidophiles can live in acid. Then you have halophiles, organisms that will survive in salty conditions. Then you have thermoacidophiles. So all these things are organisms which will survive in extreme conditions. So they are all coming under this category of archaebacteria. Okay. Even today we have acidophiles. There are acidophiles. Even today we have thermophiles. Even today we have halophiles. Even today we have thermoacidophiles. We are seeing archaebacteria even today. Okay. So it is not like they are not available today. Halophiles live in Dead Sea. Thermophiles cannot live in cool conditions. They will die. Okay. When they are like capable of surviving in some environment, they do not come out of those environment. Okay. They can be pathogenic, but still they will not be able to survive in human temperatures. So they are available at very niche kind of location. Whenever I'm saying niche, it is a very narrow area where organisms are there. Okay. So I think it's 11:50 now. So we will stop the class now. And then what I will quickly do is I will try to show you all the slides. So people, whoever wants to see the slides, you can just take a first slide. Second slide. Third slide. Fourth slide. Fifth slide. Sixth slide. Seventh. Eighth. Ninth. Yes, he did. Whitaker only classified them into Archaea and U. Okay, with this thing, we'll stop today's class. We'll continue it on Friday. Thank you very much. What is your doubt, Anbu? For also, bacteria would survive. So someone wants 8 slides, so I'm showing 8 slide. Slide, so I'm showing third slide. Monira will be able to do nitrogen fixation. We'll study about those things tomorrow. Thank you very much, students. Thank you. I'm just leaving.